you a person who enjoys writing but has never actually completed the first draft of a novel? You've probably started, stopped many times over the course of months, weeks, years, and no matter what you do, you just can't quite seem to make it to the end of that first draft. Hi, I'm Cody. I am the indie author of the Ghostwriters Club, and today I'm going to be sharing my top 5 tips for finishing the first draft. Yes, that's right, folks. We are officially moving into the fall season. The unspoken rule of the writing community seems to be that fall time is the best time for cozy drafting of new stories, brainstorming, mood boards and playlists, and gearing up for this brand new story, feeling the excitement, the creative energy sort of flowing back into you. That's sort of what autumn has been deemed by the writing community, and you know what? I have to agree. I figured this would be a great opportunity to sort of share my thoughts on the first draft as someone who is now about to embark on the drafting process. And while I have written many drafts of books, I think I'm up to like 11 now. I've only written 2 drafts that I would consider to be first drafts. I will definitely say my second first draft was much easier than my first draft. You learn a lot about yourself as a writer during that very first draft. You learn your strengths and weaknesses. Me personally, I found that my biggest strength in my storytelling is my characters, but boy, oh boy, do I have trouble describing setting. It's these things that you learn about yourself when you're writing that very first book that I think are just so pivotal to your success in continuing to write first drafts. If you're one of those people who has set out to write the first draft but hasn't quite been able to finish it, you are not alone. In fact, you are in the majority. There is a statistic online that says out of the 100% of people who set out to write a book, only 3 of them actually managed to finish the first draft. That statistic is scary because it's like, what is it? What secret sauce do they have that allowed them to rise above the rest and actually finish the draft? And I gotta tell you, it wasn't skill or talent, it was persistence. Most of sitting down and finishing the first draft involves just showing up every day for your craft and putting down the words even when you're not feeling creative. So without further ado, let's get into the tips, shall we? Tip number 1 is that it does not have to be good. And yes, I know you've heard this a million times, but clearly it hasn't sunk in yet because that usually is the thing that trips people up the most. And the reason that I feel like this trips people up the most is because who in their right mind would want to dedicate hours and hours and weeks and months, possibly years of their life to finish a first draft that is not good? Amina has talked about this over on her channel, but a lot of the times people sort of place a lot of their self-worth into the art that they create, and they feel like if their art is bad, that they are bad as an artist, which is just not true. So much of the artistic process is the revision process and allowing that first draft to be bad just so you can sort of get a rough sketch out of your mind onto paper. At the end of the day, you just have to trust yourself to make it to the end of the story and you can clean it up later, okay? And that leads me into tip number 2, which is your first draft does not need to look like a book. Oftentimes we get into those moments where and especially for all of my girlies and my gays who do not outline, I'm personally a plotter, but hey, all power to you. Everyone's different and I support you, okay? If you are one of those girlies who does not outline, you maybe have written yourself into a corner. What we do is we kind of get caught up in the problem. Oh, I've encountered this problem with my story. I need to go all the way back to the beginning and start over and figure out how to not run into that same wall. And here's the thing. What if I told you that you are fully allowed, write yourself a little bracket note of like, I don't really know how to bridge this scene to the next scene that I have like in my mind. And so I can just write myself a little bracket and be like, hey, when you come back to revise this puppy, think of something to bridge this gap. And if you hit a roadblock, put you a little bracket in there and then move on to the next scene that you know and continue on through the end of the story. You can do that as many times as you want to because at the end of the day, the only person that is going to see this document is you. And if you're a writer, sound off in the comments and let them know that, hey, sometimes you got to bracket a whole scene or a chapter and that's okay. My third tip for the first draft is that story structures are guidelines, not checklists. Now we've all heard of this girl right here, Miss Save the Cat writes a novel. There are so many different renditions of this. These originated as story structures for screenplays, but then they adapted it to where Save the Cat also wrote a novel, not just a screenplay. And of course there are other ones that are genre specific. There's a Save the Cat now for horror. It's technically for screenplays, but you could use it for novels novels. And there's the hero's journey. There's romancing the beat if you're writing romance. There are so many different story structures out there that you can use, but please know that all of these story structures are guidelines. The story that you want to tell might not fit into any one of these. For me personally, my story kind of fits into a few different story structures. It has some pieces of Save the Cat. It has some pieces of the hero's journey. It has some pieces of the 3-act, 9-block, 27-chapter outline. I took pieces from all of these different story structures that I felt worked for me and best fit my story. And hey, guess what? You have full liberty to do the exact same thing. I don't actually use story structure in a way where I'm like super regimented with it. Honestly, me personally, I use story structure as a way to brainstorm because it can sometimes help spark ideas for different scenes or different moments that I want to happen in the story. It's definitely helpful in the brainstorming, world building, obviously plotting part of writing a book. So the whole point of this tip is to take the aspects of the story structures that you enjoy, that you like, that best work for your brain, and make them work for you. Tip number 4. Now this one is a little bit of a hot take. Ooh, everyone calm down. But tip number 4 is all writing advice is not for all writers. If you are anything like me, when I set out to start my writing journey, the first place that I went was YouTube, because pretty much every usable skill that I have in my normal life, I have learned from watching a YouTube video. So whenever I set out on my writing journey, of course, I was scouring YouTube for all of the writing advice, the tips, the publishing tips, the querying advice. Literally, I submerged myself, went into a rabbit hole I didn't leave for a very long time. If you type in writing a book on YouTube, you will also be inundated with tips and tricks and all sorts of things. Now, let me tell you this. Yes, it is totally fine to listen to these tips, learn things about story structure, learn better ways to build and craft worlds and characters. It's great to learn ways that you could do these things. You're probably like, Cody, you're literally here giving us advice on writing a first draft. And no, I would argue with you there. My only goal with this video is to encourage you with experiences that I've gone through, things that I have learned on my writing and publishing journey. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, throw it away. My issue with the way some of these writing tips are given is that they are presented as things that you should do and not things that you could do. Every single writer is different. If we were all doing the exact same thing, following the exact same tips, do you know how boring that would be? All of us would have the same prose. All of us would have the same way that we display world building and character arcs and all these things. And that just sort of takes the fun out of creating the art. Approach writing advice with a grain of salt. You can take the things that work for you. If you're listening to 7 tips and only 2 of them really resonate with you, take those 2 tips, throw the rest of them in the garbage because they don't work for you. You should take all of those tips as things that you could do, not things that you have to do or that you should do. And my very, very last tip number 5 for starting your first draft is that comparison kills creativity. Now, it is so easy during this month where a lot of people are going to be on YouTube drafting, doing challenges. I'm personally doing my 90-day novel challenge where I am attempting to write the first book of my fantasy series in the months of October, November, December. Even though NaNoWriMo isn't a thing anymore, people still do the November writing challenge. There are so many writing challenges that typically happen in this Q4 time, this fall time. And it is very easy to see all of these people around you making all of this great progress on their books and on their whips. And sometimes when you see these people that are so much further ahead in this process than you, maybe they've written 30,000 words in the first week and you've written 3,000 words in your first week. Both amounts of progress are equally great, but it is easy to get caught up in this numbers game of having to, hit these high numbers in a short amount of time. And that is not what it's about. The second you start comparing yourself to other writers and how quickly they're writing or their progress, that is the moment you have already set yourself up for failure. From day one of your writing journey, the only person that you should be comparing yourself to is the writer that you were yesterday, last week, last month, last year. You do not need to be comparing yourself with any other writers because all it does is steal the joy that you have for your writing, for your craft, for your creativity, for your project. If you take nothing else from this video, promise me that you will not fall into the trap of comparing your progress and your writing to other writers. Pinky promise. And that is all I have for you guys today. If you liked the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up down below. Let me know down in the comments if you are planning to possibly write your very own first draft this fall. We would love to have you in the 90-day novel challenge. We have an amazing Discord full of super supportive people from all over the world. It has actually kind of astounded me how poppin' that Discord is at times. It is just cool at all hours of the night to see people from all across the world in different time zones interacting with one another another, cheering for one another, supporting one another. I'm not gonna lie, it's beautiful. It's a real beautiful thing. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope to see you in my next one, but until then, bye.